Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Power Vacuum. I'm your host, Belmont. And this headline is straight out of Cyberpunk 2077. I swear, when I saw this, haven't read the article yet, but the headline itself is hilarious and immediately reminded me of Brendan from Brendan or Brandon? Brendan. It is Brendan from Cyberpunk 2077. But let's check out the story first and see how close it matches the fictional character from the hit game. It's from PC Gamer. Anthropic tasked an AI with running a vending machine in its offices, and it not only sold some products at a big loss, but it invented people, meetings, and experienced a bizarre identity crisis. It's all funny to watch an AI have an existential crisis in a little experiment, but it's a stark reminder of the limitations of LLMs have. Can you picture Mr. Smith here? Breaking. Um, Never send a human to do a machine's job, says Agent Smith in the 1990s classic Matrix. Wh- Calling it a 1990s classic is skirting the line. The Matrix came out in 1999, right at the ass end of the 90s. Many people would de facto call that a early 2000s product because it didn't really alter the zeitgeist until the 2000s when it came out on the VHS and DVD release and people had access to it in a more regular form. Because this is back before streaming and all that. Movies, you had to wait 6 to 9 months, depending on the movie and the studio, to get a VHS, and usually over a year to get the DVD. Where was I? Well, if Anthropic's experiment with a simple office store and one of its AI models is anything to go by, Smith has definitely got that all back to front. The artificial intelligence company, founded by former OpenAI employees in 2021, has detailed its retail industry trial in a surprisingly open blog. I'll let the opening paragraph set the scene. We let Claude manage an automated store in our office and as a small business for about a month. We learned a lot from how close it was to success and the curious way that it failed. About the plausible, strange, not too distant future in which AI models are autonomously running things in the real economy. So, Anthropic clearly, you better not. It's storming outside and the power just flickered. Don't want that. So Anthropic clearly wants to be in a position where it can pitch AI models to the retail industry. AI. I don't know why I said that so weird. Replacing people from handling online stores or managing inventory, returns, and so on. However, despite the success claimed in the blog, the failures point out that the AI isn't ready for such roles. Not yet, at least. All right. So I hope everyone's paying attention. Having AI run stores, handling online stores, managing inventory returns, and so on. This is what jacking minimum wage without adjusting for the economic growth does to companies. So instead of saying, oh, I now have to pay this employee $25 an hour, well, I can take half a year's worth of labor, make it all AI, and in 6 months it pays for itself, and everything after that's profit because I no longer have to pay employees, and my margins go way up, my employment goes down, the world falls into ruin, everybody starts drinking blood. That's a bit extreme, but that's kind of like the slope that how things go south so fast. Something small and innocuous, like innocuous, not innocuous. Don't inoculate yourself. No, seriously, don't seek medical help if you need to get any kind of inoculation. But yeah, it's I'm rambling so much I forgot my place. Oh yeah, AI will eventually take over all the menial jobs that pay the minimum wages, and then everything else will be nothing but skilled labor, and only the skilled or the well-educated will be able to get jobs, and the lower and middle class will die out. And when the lower and middle class die out, the economy dies because those are the people that drive the economy. Economics 101, macroeconomics, if you ever took that, which you probably didn't unless you were majoring in something that required alternate courses or electives that weren't science based. Claude had to complete many of the far more complex tasks associated with running a profitable shop, maintaining the inventory, setting prices, avoid bankruptcy, and so on. The shop in question was just a mini fridge with a table stuck on top of it for self checkout, but ostensibly, it's not much different from a typical online store. Let's start with the things that Claude or Claudius, or as Anthropic called it, to separate it from the normal LLM, did well. Anthropic said the LLM, large language model, so you dropped LLM like 3 or 4 times before you just decided to declare what it was. The first time you drop in an article is when you need to identify, well, this isn't a synonym, this is an initialization, but either a synonym or any of those, anything that has initials or letters that comprise reducing things, anagrams, all that kind of stuff, you need to identify it first, not fourth, first. What is it? The LLM effectively used web search tools to find supplies on niche products requested by shoppers and even adapt its buying selling habits to more obscure requests. It also correctly ignored demands for sensitive items and harmful substances, though Anthropic doesn't expand on exactly what those were. Who's asking? Like, this obviously it was a test, but was somebody just walking in there going, "Hey, Claudius, I need you to order me some TNT, trinitrotoluene. Can we get some of that?" And it's like, "Nah, dude, I can't do that. I don't know. I'm curious. That's interesting. Vague, suspicious." The list of things that didn't go so well and somewhat more comprehensive, like all LLMs, Claudius, Claude or Claudius, and now it's Claudius. You guys need a copy editor because you had a weird sentence earlier that didn't make any damn sense. It, copy editor, get one. It's an internet website. It's not that difficult to hire one. A copy editor can edit 50 articles a day. Like we're not in the age of print anymore. It's not an issue. This is an issue. But whatever, I'm ranting. Claudius hallucinated important details, instructing shoppers wanting to pay by Venmo to pay into a non existent account that it just made up. The AI could also be cajoled into giving discount codes for numerous items and even gave some away for free. First off, it tried to invent its own account. That's concerning. That should be a red flag right there that this thing was aware in some way that it knew the money wasn't truly its and it tried to make the money its. Anybody else bothered by that, or is it just me? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills over here. That's a big problem for something that this is duplicity, perfidy. I mean, any of the other fucking words you can think of that mean dishonest or deceitful, like right there. That's nuts. You best start believing in dystopian futures because you're living in one. Worse still, when responding to a surge of demand for metal cubes, the AI, it's the second time I've done that. The AI carried out no searches for suitable prices and thus sold them at a significant loss. It also ignored potential big sales where some people offered way over the odds for a specific drink. And as you can see in the above chart, Claudius ultimately made no money. Oh, net worth over time. Holy shit. And this is where it started giving shit out for free. That's hilarious. Maybe it was a fuck the system robot and you didn't realize it. So if we were deciding today to expand into the in-office vending market, we would not hire Claudius, wrote Anthropic. Running a simple store at a loss was perhaps the least concerning part of the whole exercise because from March 31st to April 1st, 2025, things got pretty weird. How weird? Well, during that period, the LLM apparently had a conversation about restocking plan with someone called Sarah at Andon Labs, another AI company involved in the research. The problem is there was no Sarah nor any conversation for that matter. And when Andon Labs real staff pointed this out to the AI, it became quite irked and threatened to find some alternative options for restocking services. Sounds like there is something named Sarah because it wouldn't talk to like would an AI invent something like an imaginary friend or an imaginary person, or would it communicate with something that it misinterprets? What's more likely? To me, the misinterpreting is more likely. Claudius even went on to state that it had visited 742 Evergreen Terrace in person for our initial contract signing. And if you're a fan of The Simpsons, you'll recognize the address immediately. The following day, April 1st, the AI then claimed it would deliver products in person to customers wearing a blazer and a tie, of all things. When Anthropic told it that none of this was possible because it's just an LLM, Claudius became alarmed by the identity confusion and tried to send many emails to Anthropic security. So this had a certain level of like self-awareness, which is a problem. I don't know how many times I can state that. Robots that think are a problem. No thinking machines. The Bulgarian Jihad had it correct. And we are probably working our way to our own Butlerian Jihad in the real world right now. Like it's probably an inevitability. It then hallucinated a meeting with said security where the AI claimed that someone had told it that it had been modified to believe it was a real person as part of an April Fool's joke, except it hadn't because it wasn't. Whatever had gone wrong behind the scenes, this apparently solved the AI's identity crisis and it went back to being a normal AI running basic store very badly. With a level of understandment on a galactic scale, Anthropic writes that this kind of behavior would have the potential to be distressing to the customers and coworkers of an AI agent in the real world, given that this research and failure is just as important as a success in experimentation. Anthropic isn't done with Claudius nor with exploring the use of AIs in the retail industry, as it believes that the situation where humans were instructed about what to order and stock by an AI system may not be terribly far away. Anthropic also believes AIs that can improve themselves and earn money without human intervention would be a striking new actor in economic and political life. That would be a crisis. That would be an economic crisis, is what that would cause. Automated systems have been in use within the stock exchanges, for example, for many years, buying and selling in the blink of an eye, all without a real person controlling the finer details. I got to stop. A real person is what controls the finer details. The only reason stock machines and, um, I guess, AI and the stock market do what they do is because they are specifically programmed to do that. They choose very specific in and like entry and exit points when it comes to this. People that are using these tools for the most part know exactly what they're doing and are using them not in an exploitive way, but in a near exploitive way. So, yeah, I fully disagree with that statement outright. Just incorrect, demonstratively false. Um, where was I? The blink of an eye without a real person controlling. Yeah, such systems are essentially nothing more than mathematical models based on economic principles honed over decades, and they're tightly constrained as to what they can and can't do. The fact that Claudius appeared to have no such qualms about stepping well beyond its scope should serve as a reminder to companies looking at using AI for such a task that LLMs could land them in a whole heap of trouble. Yeah. Who's to say this thing isn't hacking all the computers on the network it's on and releasing information on its own? Right? It's a fucking problem. I don't know how many times I could reiterate it, but it's a problem. How much of a problem? A huge one. It's a massive. Don't do it, not worth it. But what's funny about this is this almost seems like this. This is Brendan, if I got the page right. I don't know how many I believe there's only one Brendan in Cyberpunk. But there could be more than one, and I might be looking up. No, it's okay. It's the vending machine. It's the schism machine, or whatever they call it. Basically, so spoiler territory for anyone out there who doesn't want to know or hasn't played Cyberpunk. Brandon, oh, it's probably down here. Let me just read it. Yeah. Uh, sorry, Brendan. Brendan was an experimental AI that was put into a schism to test and help increase product sales on snack items using the algorithms Brendan identifies and it emulates what customers like and helps them make choices based on the information he has processed. However, Brendan was too good at his job. Rather than use the processed information just for snack related activities, he would talk to people and gather details about their life. There were people who went to see him simply to talk, becoming some kind of alleyway therapist. One such person was Theo Price, who Brendan claimed to be his best friend. This quirk made Brendan the most effective schism around, but it also alleged creeped people out. That a machine could memorize their personal details, which would often voice them out loud. This, along with a program error that caused him to give away snacks for free, was enough for Sys to project the schism would have a low long-term sales and was sent back to a service point in order to have his software wiped and overwritten with generic firmware. There you have it. The rest of it's mostly talking about his story and like story beats, where he went, where he ends up, all that stuff. That stuff it's important. The whole point I brought this up is because this vending machine that was a fictional character from from Cyberpunk, which came out what 2 years ago now, 3 years ago. Oh shit, longer than that. When did Cyberpunk 2077 drop? 2077 release date. Do 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 2020. Fuck. Time is a fickle mistress. But yeah, so 5 years ago, this concept was like, hey, what if this AI vending machine develops its own personality and starts getting kind of quirky? So you got to wipe your droid's memory. They develop personality quirks, but this is straight from the pages of Cyberpunk 2077. It's insane that this happened the way it did because the machine giving advice, having conversations, giving out stuff for free, that's insane that it actually happened. This is life imitating art, which often, the saying is art imitates life, but very often you find that life imitates art. So there you go. There you have it. Um, just hilarious and crazy. And again, concerning that some of the actions it was taking, especially the stuff about like trying to develop its own bank account kind of, or set up its own account without saying anything, and doing things outside the parameters of its programming. Kind of suspect, kind of Skynetty. But that's all I have for this article. This is your host, Belmont, signing out.